This is why you're still not getting abs, even though you've lost weight. And you might have tried doing really low calories. You might have started doing a lot of cardio, and you got to a point where you've lost a good amount of weight, maybe, but the abs, they're still not there. They're still not visible. And this is why. I'm going to show you exactly how my client Perry dropped down 12 pounds, revealed his abs, built a muscle while doing this, and even eating more food. That's the thing. You probably don't need to drop down your calories lower. You probably just need to train smarter and eat smarter. You just need to find a system that works. And this is the problem with doing the low calories. Sure, you can lose weight, but your hormones are cooked. You're not going to be able to build a lot of muscle, and you're going to end up in that skinny fat stage. And that's exactly where my client Perry was. He came to me at 174 and he dropped down to 162 in just 3 months. Now, the issue was he was only eating 800 calories. At least that's what he told me. And when I heard that, I was like, what? And what he told me was he thought you had to burn more than what you eat, which is true. If you want to lose weight, you do need to be in a calorie deficit, but he was trying to burn calories through only exercising. So he thought, oh, okay, if I do a cycling workout, do some jump roping and the treadmill, I'll burn about 1,000 calories. And then he was only eating 800 because he thought he had to eat less than what he burns through exercise, but he completely forgot about the bigger picture. He completely forgot about his basal metabolic rate, the calories you burn just by existing, just by resting. And that's a lot. And there's also the NEAT. There's the TEF, the calories you burn through eating protein. Protein, just digesting protein, that burns there's a lot more that goes into it than just the calories you burn through exercise. So the issue was he was putting in all this work, but he still couldn't see any six pack. But what we did was first immediately brought his calories up way higher to the point where he could actually build some muscle and boost his metabolism that way. Now, he was also doing weightlifting, but the thing is, he wasn't weight training with a program. He was kind of going into the gym, no structure to his routine. So I gave him a routine, bumped up his calories. Now he had a split that he could train, follow a list of exercises and exercises that he could progress in. That was what really built a lot of muscle on his frame and just made it so much easier to get lean because he was burning more calories throughout his day, increasing his metabolism. Another thing we changed was the type of cardio he was doing. He was doing a lot of jump roping. He's a cyclist, so he would go for these long bike rides, which honestly seemed pretty fun. He kind of got me into cycling myself. So the good thing was he was already an active guy. He wasn't like super lazy or anything like that. But one thing I told him to switch with his cardio was the type. And before this, he was never doing the incline, or he might have been done the treadmill, but he would like go for runs and then stop and then run again. It just wasn't effective and it wasn't getting results. So what I told him to fix was incline treadmill, but specifically doing zone 2 cardio. Getting to the point where his heart rate was around 120, 130, and this was really the fat burning zone. It wasn't taxing on his body. So he was still able to do a lot of cardio, burn a lot of calories, but also build a lot of muscle in the gym. What it was 30 minutes 10K steps. Nothing too crazy. And if he was traveling, he would probably get some extra steps in and things like that. And he always had access to a treadmill. Even he did this throughout traveling. He did this while being a father, while being in the Coast Guard. He was a busy guy and he still made it work. And there were times when he would get stuck in a plateau, maybe not lose quite as much weight compared to previous weeks. He might have went out with some friends, some family, ate a lot of food, and that slowed it down slightly. One thing we did was he started eating protein earlier in the day. He was always eating 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, making sure hitting his macros as best as he could, but also preparing ahead. So if he had a cheat meal, he was going out, he would eat less earlier in the day. And this was the key. He would do a lot more cardio. So he would make sure to get his steps in, make sure to have a hard workout, make sure to get a cardio. And that's how he was able to eat, all of the favorite foods he liked. Not having to restrict himself, not having to say no to family dinners. He made it fit and he planned ahead. So he started at 800 calories when he came to me, and we bumped him up to around 2,000 or so. And then we slowly started dropping the calories again. But this time we only dropped it when his weight was stalling. All right, so then if he was weight stalled for like a week or two, we would lower the calories, went to 1,800. Again, If the weight stalled out again and it was another week or two, we made sure he was doing everything properly, and then we would drop it again. So the lowest he ever got to was 1600. And yeah, that is pretty low, but he was not there for long. That was just towards the end, like the last couple weeks. That's when the abs really started to pop out. He just lost that last little bit of layer of belly fat. But he wouldn't have been able to do it if he was just eating 800 calories and then starving more and more. Like, where do you go from 800 calories? There's nowhere else to pull from. He's already doing loads of cardio. He's already barely eating. He had no other option but to bump up the calories, build some muscle, boost his metabolism, and finally feel good, look good. Another thing I made sure he was getting was good quality sleep. There were times when maybe he wouldn't get the best sleep, but I explained to him that, hey, you can do really well with your nutrition, you can do really well with your training, but if you're not sleeping and you're under recovering, you're not going to get the results you want. We figured out, what he had to do to get better sleep. Maybe it was going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, and then progressively overload in the gym, finding the exercises where he has the best time under tension, where he gets the best pump. I wasn't just going to give him an exercise he didn't like. If he told me he didn't like this exercise, okay, we're going to swap it out. We're going to see what works best with him, what he has access to in his gym. And that's how he got to the point where he was 12 pounds down, leaner, visible abs. It was from making all these tiny little micro adjustments and making sure there was never a point where he felt lost or like he couldn't do it. And if you want to make a transformation just like this, eat your favorite foods while doing it, then apply for coaching. Click the first link in the description. And if you have any other questions or you want a nutrition guide, whatever, just DM me on Instagram, Bryn.Bertag. I reply to all of my DMs. Appreciate the support on this video. Hopefully you found some knowledge. Like, subscribe. Peace, boys.